This is going to be video 1 of building a shifter here. I'm going to a whole new design. I'm going to try something different here. I got some smart changes. I'll go over that in a moment. First, I'm going to show you the first difficult part to make. I already got part of it done here, but anyways, this was an adapter to stick my Turbo 400 tranny on a 350, and then all I did was just cut it had the bolts run the inside of these holes. I just cut them out, cut it to the shape of the tail shaft. Easiest way to do this is take the tail shaft off. I like to use all 4 bolts. Some guys will just use the 2 on the side. That's fine. Probably even for the design of the shifter I'm using, that would be fine, but I already got it, so I'm going to use it. So you can take the tail shaft off, mark the holes so you know where the holes are. Then the difficult part is you gotta grind enough away around the bolt holes but still built it. You see I kind of went overkill here in these areas because it can interfere here and here, so just cut it out to where it misses it. It'll take a little bit of trial and error to get it to fit. Normally my shifter will mount in the center. That's the one that's actually in the car now. But I came up with this new design, and also the other problem with that I never realized is normally I'll have the linkage kind of come at a really sharp angle, which also helps interfere with the, you gotta cut so much of the tranny hump out in the floor to get the shifter not to hit. So I came up with a better idea this time. You see I got the ruler out there. I'll tell you why there's in a moment. But I'm going to go with a more flat, straight linkage to where it just comes more straight, so I don't have these angles going down. And the other thing I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to move my shifter out to the outside, which actually makes it easier for building shifters. Because the problem with the shifter in the center, the shifter I have in the center, you'll have a bushing on the outside and a bushing on the outside. I call it a bushing because it's a piece of hollow steel with an actual bronze bushing. I'll show you that in a moment. I always use bushings. And then the shifter itself will be mounted to that, and it'll have a piece of 1/2 inch roll bar stock coming out, round bar stock. So I'll get it all fit in there, and then I'll stick the shifter in there and figure out the position. I did it last so I knew where it was, but anyways, and then I welded it so when the shifter moves, this bar comes all the way out to here, and then it moves and it connects to the tranny. So, and that's part of the reason why the shifter came up so high, because if I made that really long, the shifter wouldn't move much, which in some cases might be a good idea, but I wanted so much throw out of it. But anyways, and then I made a gate, just a square tubing or just a rectangle gate around it, so I could drill a hole in it and have my reverse lockout plus park stop. But anyways, so I'm going to do what everybody else does. A lot of people, just like I said, most of them will even just use this bolts, have a piece of metal coming up, and then let's have a shifter like I've made. A nice flat one. I got fancy, made my aluminum so it's lightweight, so the weight and the inertia is less of it getting flung back and forth. And I guess I'll say now, you don't even have to do this if you don't want to. There's so many great companies out there that make shifters. There's a guy that even makes one that has detents in it, so it's a click, click, click. Well, it's also built into the shifter, so you really don't have to worry about it flying. Well, anyways, so basic design, you can see my 1/2 inch bolt. I've already got my brass bushing in there, brass bushing went all the way through with a thrust washer on this outer side pressed in there. So you get the basic idea. I'm actually going to weld a plate on this first, drill a hole in it, and weld a nut on the back side. So bolts through on this side. And basically, get the idea. Hold down there. With the rod connecting that, I'm going to go to heim joints this time. You can see right here, instead of the cheaper ball socket ones I used that are actually like, these were $3 at the steel yard as opposed to $17 at Ace. So there you go, you get the basic idea of how this is going to change. I'm going to put the shifter in the new car because the problem I found out with the white seat in the stock car I'm going to use, this would actually hit the seat. So that's the only problem with this side shifter that I see, is it could interfere with seating arrangements. This is going to be what I call my gate, basically. to be welded on there. I'll trim it down some more, just using what I have. Basically, the shifter will sit between this, sandwich between this, and then I'll just bend another piece that comes out, and that'll be what my pin will go through. I've also switched that out to a ball socket quick pin. It's got a ball in the end, so in and out, as opposed to the kind of got that, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like a trailer lock. You have to unclip to one side, flip it over, and all that, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'll be welding that on there. I got to drill a hole through it, a 1/2-inch hole through it, so I can put a nut on this side. You can see the space I left. That's actually accidental. This is how this was built. I'm just going to use it. So I'll bury a nut in there, in that gap, weld it, add some more bracing up here, and like I said, bring the piece out here. I'm going to, keep with this video. I'll do that after I do some. I'll do another video, and you can see that, and I'll just splice all this together for you. So on to step 2. Okay, you can see I got the shifter temporarily mounted here, and I got my bolt made. Basically, I just took a bolt. I like to use a bolt that has, so the shifter's sitting on all this shoulder here, and then so it's not riding on the threads. So I just take a bolt that's got the right shoulder I need, and run a nut down on it, cut it off where I need it, grind it down, and then bevel the edge like they do when they're new, just so it goes in and out easy. And then, like I said, so all the wear is on the shoulder and not on the thread. It don't tend to work good that way. Anyways, I got the plate welded in there, most of it. A piece on the back here for strength. I got the nut on the nut welded in there. Yeah. Well, you can see it since I can't see it. Anyways, I made the same mistake I always do. The bolt that goes through here wants to hit back there. But, oh well. Once I get it all welded up, then I can, like I had to do before, you'll see my other shifter, just grind a notch out so the bolt can fit. Anyways, the second thing I'm doing is I got it in here, so I can figure out where it sits. And the easiest way to do that, I've already measured my throw at the bolt hole. There is 2 3/8. So as you can see, I got the ruler down here, and I got a pin in it at where the hem joints and the bolt, so I can put it at the mark, use it as I could plumb bob in a way, and then I could run it to the length and see where it fits. It sits. I can move it if I want it back farther, or if I want it farther forward. Just move the ruler and figure out where exactly I want it. I'll shoot for a little bit right about there. So, try to have it more straight. If you have it too far forward, you might not be able to reach it, depending on what car you put it in. Yeah. Anyways, there you go. So you can figure out the throw on it. Just set a ruler down there. Use that as plumb bob. There you go. The next thing I'm going to do is there's going to be another outer plate here. Another thing I'm going to do for that, to where it hits back there, I'm going to put a washer, thin washer behind it, which is always a good idea. Because what's going to happen, I'm going to put another plate like this on the outside here, drill a hole, go across so it bolts through it, and then position in place, bolt it down, and weld it in. Sometimes you do that, if you don't get this gap right or whatever, and you put it together and you weld it, and then all of a sudden it's too tight. So if you put a washer in there, anytime you do anything like that, put a thin washer in it, and it gives you a little air room. You can use different size washers. You can use it as thrust. I like to get a spring washer put in there so it had some resistance on it. But yeah, there you go. So the next part is going to make, like I said, this outer piece, so I can drill a hole to throw pieces and stick this little quick pin in there, and that'll be my reverse lockout, so it doesn't, I can keep from going reverse when I want to, or lock it in the park. And then later on I'll show you how the new way I do this building, or the new way I'm going to try and build the rod from there. Plus I'll have to find some washers. Couldn't find any spacers, so these things can move better, so I'll use small lock washers for spacers. But anyways, let me get building on this, and we'll see in the next video attached to this, or the next section of this video, how it's going. See in a few. Okay, now you can see the second outer piece is on. I just bent this with my massive propane setup here. Just heated and bent it. I goofed a little bit. It's a little wider than I wanted, which, well, that's fine. I can move it out. Less I have to grind down there. I just put some spacers in there, but works good. I'm actually some nice washers. Works good though. I'm happy with it. Later I'll trim that off and that off a little bit just to make it look prettier, but it's pretty much mostly done. The major work's done on it. I'll have to take it off, and right above where I got to notch it, there's a pretty good gap. I couldn't weld until I had everything set, because if I welded that gap, it might have caused it to tweak over. So now that I got everything set good, I can go back over there and weld the back side of it real good, take it off, weld the back side. And that's it for that. The next thing I'll do is figure out where I want it. I got over 4 inches to throw, and I only need 2 3/8, like I said earlier. That moves 2 3/8. The next thing I guess I should have told you in the beginning, when you're building your shifters, distance from here to there is critical as for how much throw you have on top. I goofed. The first shifter I ever made was real short, the handles are long, so it was like way up here and way back there to shift. So that's one of the issues you can have. So, and the longer you make it, you can make your shifter like, which, it'd be really hard to find gears if you're looking for them. But I'm happy with this. It's about typical. I basically measured the other shifter, but like I said, the other shifter sits on top, this one sits on the side, so it's lower. This line here is pretty much straight. You might be wondering, well, won't it hit that? Well, no, because the issue will be this will always go up, this will always go up. Yeah, that'll go down a little bit, but at the same time that goes down, this is going to go up quite a bit, so typically it will always go up, so worried about hitting that, it's not a problem. I made sure of that because the issue, the next thing I'm going to do is the different type. My typical old-fashioned way of doing this was, so I got to jam that on here, and I always use a bolt, just cut the head off, and then I take the equal amount of bar stock thickness, and then I just clamp it on where it was happy and weld it, so it just be a piece of bar like that on top of it going out to the next one. What I'm going to do different this time to make it a little bit more prettier than that, I'll use this ruler as an example. I'm going to cut the head off, cut a groove in a 1-inch piece of flat stock. It's going to have to be 1/4 inch to be thick enough, otherwise it'll bow and cause a problem. Basically that's what I'll do. And I'll round the ends off to make it nicer looking, but yeah, I'll have a nice piece of bar going back and forth. It won't matter, there'll be plenty of clearance, nothing to hit. And it'll be kind of heavy duty. But before I do that, because all that's going to be a critical measurement, you might be wondering how you figure that out. How you figure out your rod. Well, you do your rod exact dead last. What you'll actually do, once I figure out, I think right about there, I'll run the ruler down this, so I know exactly where it's going to come down here. And then in front of that, I'll drill my hole for my thing to go through, my reverse stop. Then I'll go over there, find park, then we'll go 1 click down into reverse, take my measurements, give me a little extra on the bar stock I'm going to use for that, clamp it in place. When everything's pretty happy, I'll set these jam nuts and these bolts halfway between, so I can go in and out. Same thing here, in and out adjustment, and then get everything set where I want it, the bolts drilled through, clamp everything if I have to, make sure it doesn't move, then I'll tack those to the bar stock, do one test to make sure that it actually shifts right, and then once I'm happy, just weld them up all the way around, and then after that all will be left to, like I said, is making it pretty. Take it apart, maybe take this down to work, polish it, probably paint all this orange, and be good to go. And I'll have a nice new shifter. I will, of course, finish this video, just giving you an idea of what I'm going to be doing, in a few minutes here, because I'll just shut this off now, and you can wait. Actually, you won't be waiting, it'll go right into it, but I'll be back with the last part of this. Okay, and here you go. Here is the finished project. Product. Okay, I don't talk so well. I'll show you a mistake I made and how to fix it. You notice that's slotted because when I decided to set the pin position, well, I did it in park. As you can see, that would have worked out. And I tried to drill it back here, but that is also in the wrong position. And so that's what you can do. If you mess up, just drill a big enough hole if it's just a little bit off. And as you can see, I welded a washer on each side. And that's the easy way to do it, because then you can just adjust it to where you need it, clamp it in place, weld the washers, and it's good to go. And as you can see, it works. I'm happy with it. You're asking, might be wondering why I didn't leave it where it was. The problem is the way it was, the way it would have been, so it could have worked. The shifter would have been so far forward, and then like about there would have been first gear. And then I went and looked at the car, because I had thought about not changing it, but went and looked about the car it was going into, and I was like, no, that would be really hard to reach when it was way far forward, because that would be reversed there, and that would have been a long reach from there to there. But anyways, I like this better all the way back. It's first. Goes in the park. I stick the park lock in there. Got a nice good solid click, and it doesn't want to go any farther forward, so I'm happy with it. Plus, that can always be adjusted. That's still hot, don't touch that. Anyways, I can still be adjusted here if you're not that happy with it. Make minor adjustments here. I don't use left hand and right hand threads, because that could be an issue if you're derbying. This thing can spin back and forth, and it's not going to go out of adjustment if the jam nuts come loose. To adjust it, you have to take one nut off one side. I went and welded a bolt in there instead of supposed to fighting with holding a nut and bolt when taking it off. Though most of the time when I take my shifters off, I take it off there and the 4 bolts. You probably could just use these 2 on this side if you wanted to. You don't need those 4, but I already had it. I already did it. I finished welding up on the bottom. At this point, the only thing that's left to do is make it pretty. Cut some stuff off, paint it orange, polish out the shifter handle if I want, and it's good to go. There you go. It's without taking up too much time and showing you every step-by-step and videotaping it and being an hour-long video, gives you a pretty good idea on how you can do it. And like I said before, you don't have to get fancy with your rod. You just use a stick. If you want just a hollow tube, a steel solid tube, whatever you got to make that would work. You don't even necessarily have to get this crazy with an outer gate and all that. If you got a good enough, strong enough bolt with a nut on the other end, you could just screw in a bolt. A lot of people do that, just a 3/8 bolt into the plate back there that's attached to. It works good enough as a stop. So now, I wanted to do a video on a basic shifter. Well, a basic shifter, you just get this set up, run your pull out, poke it through the floor, have some sort of handle on it, and a lot of people use an old jack, bumper jack, tire on that has the wrench for taking it off, and the operating jack to just weld that to something. That's all their shifter is. But this is a more complicated or fancier shifter, whatever. This is just, people that don't quite understand it. So you don't ever have to worry about going in the reverse. It's just laziness, and so you just go. A lot of guys will say, well, this is why your tranny breaks, blah, 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 whatever. I've never broken a Turbo 400, unless I've dropped it, and that's the only time I've ever broken one, so. I've broken plenty of 200 R4s, 700 R4s, and the Turbo 350s, but it's also derby, and you're going to break stuff. If you're not breaking stuff, I don't think you're trying hard enough. So there you go. That's basic. It's a tutorial or whatever you call it. I'm not good with that English stuff. So hopefully this will be enough to help you build your own shifter. See ya.